Let's take a look at a new Criterion 4K UHD release of a 1984 comedy film. This is Spinal Tap. It's not only a comedy film, this is also a fake documentary, also known as a mockumentary, about a filmmaker who follows around a group of musicians as they're on a tour. And they've recently had they're having a new album released, and he's kind of following them on that tour, and it goes into further into the film, and a lot of it's improv. Or I think the whole thing, they had an outline to begin with, and most of the movie is improv. And I saw this a long time ago. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I think really it holds up pretty good. And myself, I did co-direct a mockumentary in 2006 called Return of the Jackalope, and you can check that out on YouTube. I'm going to put a link below. Now, Return of the Jackalope, it's funny because I watched a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff on this DVD, and it kind of reminded me of our process of when we did Return of the Jackalope, which is Return of the Jackalope is a reunion of a cast and crew of a which now is a cult B movie called Curse of the Jackalope, and I played like the main star of the fake film, and it was really a lot of fun, and we did that. I guess 2006 is when it was released. That was a long time ago. It doesn't really feel like it, but I tell you what does feel like a long time ago is 1984, and this is Spinal Tap, and we're going to talk about this new 4K transfer of this film. We're going to talk about the movie some, and we're going to take a look at this packaging. I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films, and as you can see, I'm an avid physical media collector. I've been doing review videos on this channel for a little over a year now. You can check out all my previous content. Now, this is a pretty solid looking Criterion release. It's a pretty thick box. The thickest Criterion release that I have is The Picnic at Hanging Rock. Now, I did a podcast on this one for Conversations in Horror, and we talked about it for a long time. I spoke about it with Kevin Powers. You can check out that. I'm going to leave a link to Conversations in Horror, that podcast, in the description below. But most Criterion releases, the majority of the ones I have, kind of look like this. No bells and whistles, just a kind of standard release. Now, I did a review of one not too long ago called Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, and you can check out that review as well. But this is a little bigger box, and also Sorcerer did this as well. But this one, this is Spinal Tap. I guess it's similar in thickness. The Pat Garrett one's slightly thicker than This is Spinal Tap. A fairly impressive film as far as the release. The film itself is also impressive. Now, I did watch it a long time ago. I can't remember if it was VHS or DVD, but I do remember the quality not looking too good. You know, this is a fake documentary. It does mix in a lot of different mediums into it, so there is some variance, intentional variance on the way that it looks. The majority of the film was shot with 16mm film, which it intentionally looks like it was shot with a handheld camera because it's following around this rock group, and in the interviews it got Rob Reiner's character. Rob Reiner plays the character, a filmmaker in the film who's interviewing the band as it goes on. Something I missed or kind of didn't quite connect with on the first watch is this film has a very dry sense of humor. It's borderline British sense of humor. It kind of feels like that a little bit, which I've kind of over time have developed an acquired taste for that type of humor, and I really love the humor in this film. Rob Reiner, who directed this movie, also directed two of the best films ever made, which are Stand By Me and The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride also has Christopher Guest in the cast, plays a villain in The Princess Bride. He is top billed here, though the character, he's one of the three main band members, but the character played by Michael McKean has more screen time in the film. Christopher Guest, after this, went on about 10 years later, in 1996, I believe, he directed another mockumentary called Waiting for Guffman, and it had a lot of the same cast of this film. And then he went on to direct several more over the years. The last one he did was in 2016, but I think he's done like around 6 different mockumentary films, and they're all delightful. And the Waiting for Guffman especially, I really dig that one. Whew. Let's go ahead and take a look at the physical packaging here. I do like this cover. I believe it may be the original cover, and I really like the all three of the guys on the front cover. was able to keep this sticker on here. It's upside down, but it says director approved by Rob Reiner, 4K UHD and Blu-ray release. Now, so far I've kept the plastic on here. We'll see how long that lasts. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this. Here it says, this is Spinal Tap, and on the back it's got this right here. This is kind of a gag that happens in the movie where there's a mini Stonehenge that was supposed to be a big Stonehenge, but it ends up being small. It's one of the gags. It's a pretty funny bit here. Now there is a booklet. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment. And there are 3 discs. This is pretty impressive that there's 3 discs in this set. Now the first disc here is the 4K UHD, and then there's the Blu-ray. The same. Well, the Blu-ray is a little different. It doesn't have a HDR grading on it, and then there's a third disc that has the special features on it, and a pretty damn good bit of special features on that disc. We'll talk about them here in just a moment. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the booklet. Here's the guys on the front cover. This is Derek Smalls, David St. Hubbins, and Nigel Tufnell. I think that's how you pronounce it. Those are the band, and there's the Spinal Tap logo. They do such a great job with like a lot of the props, and there's a lot of scenes in here that take place during concerts. They actually went and played concerts, and they have some other fake music videos. Originally, they were kind of like a Beatles or Monkees type of band, and there's a pretty hilarious, a couple hilarious fake videos when they're singing in that. Michael McKean looks particularly hilarious, and they're all wearing these damn funny wigs, which I think are like, I just think that it's so brilliant what they do with it. Alright, so let's take a look here. So it says stupid and clever. That's a good description. I like that. That kind of sums it up. Stupid and clever. Oh man, it's and then this is one of the this is kind of like a playoff of I think Yoko Ono from the Beatles and John Lennon's girlfriend. She's like the girlfriend of David Michael McKean's character, and she just kind of tries to be in charge of the production of the bands, and no one else really wants her around. She's fairly obnoxious but hilarious character, and which it becomes even more funny later in the film when she actually becomes in charge of it, and just how bad it goes downhill from there. There's some color pictures. There's some more color pictures. It's pretty good. They're very dramatic. Go from color, from black and white to color. And there's a lot of essays in here that talk. When people were talking about the movie. I know there is a bit in the back that talks about the transfer. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. Let's see. It says about the master. This is Spinal Tap is presented in the aspect ratio of 185:1, which is widescreen, supervised and approved by director Rob Reiner. This new 4K restoration was created from a 16mm original camera negative and a 35mm blown up inner positive. Now that original camera negative and 16mm, they probably got most of the film from that. Now if you get that, that's before it has a grading on it, and they can regrade it, which they've done here, and it's impressive they were able to get hold of that. The film was shot in 16mm, or at least it was edited in 16mm. Some of the formats may have been less than 16mm, but this 35mm, they did it edit 16, and then they blew it up to 35mm. Now the 35mm blown up inner positive, that was the one they used to make the copies that went out to theaters. Continuing forward, the 5.1 Dolby Surround soundtrack was created from the original 35mm magnetic stems. This feature is presented in Dolby Vision HDR high dynamic range on the 4K Ultra HD disc and high definition SDR standard dynamic range on the Blu-ray. And then it has information about who did the mastering. Let's go ahead and talk about these special features. Now there are 3 different audio commentaries. One of them features the main cast. Now there is on here is a fairly recent, I believe from maybe 2024, 2025, a conversation between Rob Reiner and Patton Oswalt, and it's a pretty well produced little bit, and the guys Patton Oswalt interviews Rob Reiner about the film, and it's a pretty nice little segment there. I think it's around 30 minutes long. it says the cutting room floor. There's featuring 98 minutes of outtakes. Since they were ad-libbing, there's a lot of extra. There's some subplots that didn't make the film, and there's a lot of outtakes, and so it's 98 minutes of new stuff to check out. That's why there's like a third disc for these special features, because there's a lot of extra stuff. There's also the full music videos, and it says excerpts from the return of Spinal Tap from 1992. Which is an SD quality, that, and then there's interviews with the band for its 2009 Back from the Dead album, and so it's a pretty impressive amount of extra special features on here. So that is a really nice addition to this. As far as the 4K transfer, this movie was shot on 16mm film and not 35mm film, so it does have a very raw feel to it. There is a lot of film grain, and some of the stuff looks a little suspect, but it's all fine because it's acting like it's a documentary, and all that stuff you can get away with. Now some of it looks very nice, and some of the colors really pop, especially with the HDR grading, and the HDR and the 4K bring it kind of to a different level. Now the Blu-ray looks pretty good. Now you can definitely tell a sizable jump in quality from the Blu-ray to the 4K. That the Blu-ray looks fairly similar, but both of them have the film grain is definitely there, and it's very nicely still intact. And since it is again documentary, some of the even the closer shots are a little fuzzy. Some of it's like the sharpness or the focus maybe is slightly off occasionally. It's all because it's the documentary style of it, and it all works fine in the movie. I think it actually has some authenticity to the whole thing. But the biggest difference when you look at the Blu-ray to the 4K is that grading. And this grading actually on my television, it made the overall picture look a little darker, but it really helped in the darker areas. Like the black levels look a lot deeper and a lot more, you see more detail in the darker areas, and it does look like, for instance, there's a scene where they're driving in the limo and it's outside, and Bruno Kirby plays a limo driver, and you can look at his hat. It just looks a lot darker in the 4K than it does in the Blu-ray, and it also you can definitely see the film grain if you're looking at that hat pretty good, and because it's a daylight scene, and you can see it there. But this looks significantly better on the 4K, and most of the time, just looking at I pop through different scenes just to kind of see the difference, but. Really, either one that you're watching, after a while, you'll kind of not be thinking about the quality and really watching like the scenes. And really, the scenes, it definitely looks better than the SD quality one I saw a long time ago. And I did think back then that it all looked, it looks intentionally documentary-ish, but I think just with this extra little oomph on the clarity and the sharpness and the picture quality, it really helps the movie. Now, there were some rights issues with this film. And Rob Reiner and the three main actors who should have had the rights to the film were not able to retain the rights until recently. They took the production company to court, and they were able to get the rights back finally a few years ago. And they did make a proper sequel. Well, I hope so. I haven't actually seen the sequel yet, but there is a brand new movie. It just came out this year, 2025. It is called Spinal Tap 2: The End Continues. And it looks pretty fun, and all the main guys are back in it, and Rob Reiner apparently. So that's something I'm looking forward to checking out. But let's go ahead and rate this movie. I'm going to rate the movie and the release. I'm going to rate them both on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Let's go ahead. I'm going to rate This is Spinal Tap. I'm going to give this a 4-star rating. I really enjoyed this film. It was a lot of fun, and it's one that you could probably rewatch again and again. It is brisk on the pacing. It is an hour and 23 minutes, but there's a lot of stuff that didn't make the movie, and you can check out all that extra stuff on the special features disc. As far as what Criterion Collection has delivered here, I'm going to give them a 4.5-star rating. They went above and beyond with this one, including 3 discs and special packaging that they don't normally do. It is a fantastic release, and I highly recommend it. And let me know what you think about that. And if you would do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, I would like you to like this video. And also, you see this box right here. You click on that box. It's going to bring you to another one of my review videos, a Criterion release review. I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Thanks for watching.